Every neighborhood has a heartbeat, a place that represents the cultural epicenter of the area at its core. In Boston's historic North End, that place is Boston Barber and Tattoo Company. Boston Barber and Tattoo Company has become home to A-list Boston celebrities like Gordon Hayward, Milan Lucic, Brad Marchand, and Aaron Baines. Boston Barber and Tattoo is more than just Boston's most well-known corner barbershop. It's also a tourist attraction for the hundreds and thousands of people that visit the North End throughout the year. Boston Barber and Tattoo, a North End landmark that represents the cultural epicenter of the area at its core, located at 113 Salem Street.
Welcome to another edition of the Good and Plenty Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Goodman, and we got another great show for you. Today we have, in my opinion, the National Coach of the Year joining us, and that is Texas Tech's Chris Beard, whose Red Raiders have a chance to get a share or even win outright the Big 12 title if they can beat Iowa State at Hilton this weekend. First, I want to say today's show is brought to you by betonline.ag. Go to clnsmedia.com/win or use the promo code CLNS50 to get a 50% bonus on your next deposit. Today's show also brought to you by The Athletic. Get 40% off your monthly subscription just by going to theathletic.com/Goodman. Remember, you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher. You can find us on CLNS Media. You can find me at Goodman Hoops on Twitter and also at WatchStadium.com. So with March Madness approaching here and conference tournaments started already, believe it or not, but the big boy conference tournaments start next week, I figured Chris Beard was a perfect guy to get on the show. His rise is absolutely incredible. His stories are unbelievable in terms of being at an ABA team about 8 years ago, being in the Division II ranks just 4 years ago. Now he's at Texas Tech, and who knows what's going to happen after this year. You know, could one of the big boys go after him? Could Texas, Arizona, Arkansas, if any of them make a move? Who knows? I mean, Chris Beard's going to be coveted, that's for darn sure, and Kirby Hockett, their AD, it's going to have to ward off some big boys at some point, whether it's this year or next year. But without any further ado, here he is, Texas Tech coach Chris Beard. Now pleased to welcome in a guy I've known a long, long time, and it's amazing to think that 4 years ago, Chris Beard, you were at Angelo State. How does that sound? 4 years ago.
Oh, it's just been a special journey. Everywhere I've coached, I've always thought I kind of had the best job in the world. But just thinking back, really where my mind goes is all the great players we've had. I'm really appreciative, and I've been blessed.
So even all right, so you talk about all the great jobs you've had. Back in 11-12, you were the head coach and GM of the South Carolina Warriors in the ABA. What was that like? What was it like being the head coach and GM of the South Carolina Warriors?
Well, first of all, off the court, it was like the Will Ferrell movie, Semi-Pro. We had about every story you can possibly think of. I think we had 4 owners of the team in one season, and just all sorts of stuff. But the basketball was actually some of the best ball I've ever coached. It was the year of the NBA lockout, which meant the whole world kind of froze in terms of pro jobs. And we were able to get some really good players. At one point, we had on our roster a Kentucky player, a North Carolina player, a Texas Tech guard. So the basketball was great. I improved as a coach that year, being around such great talent. But off the court, it was a wild, wild ride.
Is it crazy to think of this ride, though? I mean, again, you've moved a bunch of places. You were out of D1 for a while, had to go again, ABA, D3, D2, Little Rock. And that year at Little Rock was insane because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you signed like 10 players that year, ended up going 30-5, beating Purdue in the NCAA tournament. Do you ever play the what-if game? Like, what if it didn't work out at Little Rock or didn't work out at Angelo or McMurray, and you might still be coaching at that level?
Of course, I reflect and think about things, and I tell the guys all the time to, enjoy the ride, not just the destination. And then I try to practice what I preach. Some of the best advice I ever got, Jeff, was from somebody I really respect. And they told me, in life, there's no right decisions. If you kind of could, read the future, then you would have an ability that no one else has. But what you do is you make a decision, and then you make it right based on how you approach each day and your mindset. And I've always kind of thought that with coaching, like all of us in any profession, and coaching is no different. You have opportunities, and you just hope that you make the right decision, and then you kind of zone in and try to make it right by the way you approach it. And in coaching, we've always just tried to coach our team the best we could, enjoy the moment, and kind of immerse yourself in what you're doing. And it's worked out for us.
So you lost 6 of your top 8 scorers from the Elite Eight team a year ago. Your top freshman has played 2 minutes, Kevon Moore, and yet your team on the surface looks better. I mean, the numbers are better. Obviously, you got Iowa State this weekend at Hilton, but if you win that game, you will have at least a share of the Big 12 regular season title. How? It's the only question I can ask, Beard. Like, how? How the hell have you done it this year?
The first thing I think is just expectations. And obviously last year was a special ride, making the Elite Eight, having some really good players, having a one and done, being in that green room with Zaire. I thought Keenan Evans was the best player in the Big 12, and he had a tough injury down the stretch. And Zach and Justin and Naeem and Tommy and those guys took us on a ride. But when we got back from Boston after losing to Villanova in the Elite Eight, we took some time off. And then the very first staff meeting we had and the very first team meeting we had, we just said, hey, look, nobody can take last year from us, but let's don't let that define our program. Let's try to get back in the fight. And that's what we did. The first thing we said is we got to get our returning players better. And I think the player development, it was great last spring and this summer. Guys like Morrow, who basically went from kind of a Big 12 reserve to the current time. I think he's an all-conference player in the Big 12 if you look at his numbers.
It's been incredible.
Then we knew we had to recruit. And a lot's been said about our grad transfers, and it's absolutely correct. But, we also got Deshaun Corporal from junior college. He's contributing. So recruiting went well. And certainly with Matt Mooney and Tariq, they gave us a chance to be relative again.
So every year, every member of your program sacrifices something for the season, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So what did you give up this year? I want to know what you gave up and if you're sticking to it.
Definitely sticking to it. Truth-telling culture around here. Even though it's hard, we all hold each other accountable. I think if you went against your sacrifice, you just get roasted out of our locker room.
Yeah.
But I'm no sweets, no candy, no desserts, anything during the season. So I haven't had a milkshake. I haven't had a candy bar. I haven't had anything this season sweet-wise. Noren Sadiase is kind of the leader of our team. So when questions come in, we ask him. He did let me have some yogurt about 2 weeks ago. But at this point, yogurt is not what I'm looking, man. I'm just craving like a milkshake.
So that'll be the first thing when the season ends? You're going straight for the milkshake?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go salted caramel ice cream and a milkshake.
So have you lost some weight without sweets and everything? Is this the diet also?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that I'm on a health kick. I just can't have the sweets. But I normally do lose a little weight every season and then put it back on quickly come April.
Quick break to tell you today's show is brought to you by betonline.ag. Lots of great NBA games coming up this week to throw some money on. Go to betonline.ag today to get in on the action. BetOnline.ag is CLNS Media's preferred online sportsbook. Go to clnsmedia.com/win. Get a 50% bonus when you sign up or use the promo code CLNS50. Don't be left on the sideline with all this excitement going on the court. Plus, you can play in BetOnline's virtual casino. Make some money there, too. Boston is scuffling. They have a game on the road against the Warriors Tuesday night. Warriors really tough at home. We know that. Take a look at the money line there. Who knows what the heck can happen with the Celtics this year. Want some more free money? Phillies in Chicago Wednesday on ESPN. I'd take Philly. Don't forget that March Madness is coming up as well. Future bets for baseball are starting to trickle in. Who will lead the majors in homers? Giancarlo Stanton is the favorite at plus 750, which seems like a really good odds to me, but who knows? Maybe you want to double down on the Yankees and add Aaron Judge to that. Judge plus 1,000 to lead the league in homers. Whatever you do, make sure you use betonline.ag. Use the promo code CLNS50 for a 50% bonus on your first deposit, or just go to clnsmedia.com/win. All right, so tell me a little bit of floating the rivers in Texas and what this is all about. I heard you go in tubes, you float the rivers after the year, and you and a bunch of your boys from the coaching industry and just kind of have some fun and relax? What is this?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's probably my favorite pastime. There's in the central part of the state, there's some good ones, and then kind of out in the west hill country of Concan and Lakey, the Frio River is my favorite. But started years ago, when we were coaching at schools nobody had heard of. We'd always kind of get together in the summer, and I think maybe the best thing about it is it's just 5 or 6 hours without the cell phone. So last year a guy actually took his phone and put it in a Ziploc bag and said he had some kind of waterproof phone. We kind of roasted him a little bit, like, man, the whole point is to get away from the phones. But just to get out there and relax, and it's obviously beautiful. We've been known to have an adult beverage or two, but the big thing is just
shocking.
It's the ultimate. It's the ultimate escape, is what it is.
Are you behind this book club? I've heard also you got this book club, which I wouldn't have expected from you. But then I heard what the first book was. The Salty Piece of Land, Jimmy Buffett's book?
Yeah, I've read like 2 books in my life other than sport books. Of course, I've read everything, Coach Pitino, Saban, Roy Williams, everything, but non-sports books. 4th grade, I read Where the Red Fern Grows. Actually, Miss Leavenworth read it to us, but then I got a paperback copy a few years later. Tried to read it to my oldest daughter Avery, and we got through about 2 chapters. But Where the Red Fern Grows, that's my favorite book. And then A Salty Piece of Land is basically kind of a fictional autobiography of Jimmy Buffett, and it's quite a ride. When I was an assistant at Texas Tech, we had 4 or 5 guys in this group. Augie was in the group, and Steve Green from South Plains College. And I think one of the guys in our group's wife was like in a book club, and he was kind of explaining that all he thought was it was just an excuse for everybody to go out once a month, all the women. Yeah. So we said, well, let's just start our own book club. So, yeah, Salty Piece of Land was the first book, and that's the same guys that float the river every summer.
Yeah, Augie, Chris Ogden being one of them, now the head coach at UT Arlington, used to be your assistant. And he told me a good story of – so you took the UNLV job for about 2 weeks a couple of years ago, and you get there and they put you in a plush suite at the Wynn, like big-time suite, everybody there. You're the coach at Vegas. You're the guy. And you left the suite at the Wynn for like some like regular like room? Come on.
Yeah, you got to be you in life, and so I was appreciative of the win and all, but it's just, we kind of work some late hours, especially when you're putting the team together. But first of all, I couldn't ever find the parking, it's kind of confusing over there. And then second of all, when you come in, you had to go like a back door, and simply stated, I couldn't ever find my room. And then when I did, I had to wait on the elevator and all this. So they did have like great shampoo though, and towels and all sorts of stuff. But
did you take him?
So I go to the.
Did you take him over?
No. Well, yeah, shampoo and all, I think you can take. That's not theft, I start taking towels, man. You got some character issues, but definitely took the shampoo and stuff. But no, I went to the AD at the time. It was great, and basically said I got to get closer to the arena. There's like a home place suites or something.
Hyatt Place. Joking. I think it was a Hyatt Place you went to.
I think she thought we were joking, but I was like, no, we really need to get over here. So they thought we were a little off, to say the least, out there.
Yeah, well, you are a little off. I mean, who gives up like a big time suite at the Wynn to go stay at like a Hyatt Place, a regular, a regular room there. What was describe to me that meeting with Kirby Hocutt when he came in, when he flew in, and you met him at the airport in Vegas? What was that whole situation like? Because it had to be kind of a whirlwind as you had just taken the UNLV job a couple weeks prior.
Yeah, like I said many times before, I mean, the timing was awful. I have nothing but respect for the people at UNLV in Vegas, and we were fully committed to getting that thing going there. But, sometimes in life, opportunity comes in different times, and it was a tough decision because of the timing. But Texas Tech had been a place I'd been before. There was some family parts of the equation. But more than anything, Kirby and I just kind of talked about our vision for the program. Tech's got a lot of history. As you know, there's been great teams and great programs, whether it be Coach Myers in my lifetime, James Dickey had a Sweet 16 team with NBA players, Tony Battie, Darvin Ham, Sasser, and those guys. We had some success with Coach Knight and Pat, no doubt about it. Tubby got the team back in the tournament. But the thing that I always kind of strive for is, man, can we ever get this thing where it's consistent and do it year in, year out and be a part of the fight every year and not just define ourselves with good teams every 4 or 5 years. And we talked about the things that, we both thought needed to happen for us to give a chance, to have a chance to do that. But that was the biggest thing I remember from that conversation was just the vision of the program and trying to establish a place where we could be competitive every year and not just define ourselves with one good season.
Now you've again, you got a chance to win the Big 12 regular season title at Iowa State. What would it mean? I mean, you've been in this league long enough. You were here as an assistant for a while. What would it mean to end the streak? And I know how much you think, how highly you think of Kansas and Bill Self and the job that he's done. But to have an opportunity here to go in, and it's not going to be easy to in Kansas State, certainly has a little bit easier game this weekend. So it looks like the streak may end, whether it's from you or Kansas State. But what would it mean to end it?
Well, I think it would mean a lot, not only for this year's current team, but, the past teams. I always think about, that first team we had with Anthony Livingston and Devin and those guys paving the road. And certainly last year with Keenan and Zach and Justin, those guys. So I think it would be more than just, this team winning the championship. It would be, validating all the work that people have been putting in for a long time since we got here. All we've simply wanted to do is just kind of be a part of the fight, from day one. I think if you put yourself in that mix, then eventually you're going to break through and win one. And I'm just so proud of this team again, like we were talking about earlier, not letting last year define, but getting right back in the fight. So, we tell our guys every year, we don't talk much about championships during the season, but we do start our journey every year explaining to them that, each team basically has 4 chances. You got your preseason MTE, and we always approach those as, tournaments we want to win because I think it's a valuable experience as you get into March, and we've been fortunate enough to win our last 2. Then you got your regular season championship, which is just a grind, especially in the Big 12, an 18-round fight. It's really about toughness more than anything else. And then we'll embrace Kansas City. I know people have different opinions on conference tournaments, but, if they're handing out a trophy, we're there to win. And certainly in the NCAA tournament, that's where dreams come true. But all 4 of them we talk about, we embrace, and we try to be, competitive in each of them.
So I know you started sending me some of the post-game celebrations, the videos. Some of them have circulated out for the public to see. Describe them. Describe them and describe when they started and if you've ever been injured in these.
Yeah, I mean, the best ones were the early ones, where I could – remember I used to send them to you.
Yes.
There was no way we could put them out there. They were like mosh pits. But it's just kind of our culture. We've always been kind of, hands-on, together, connected. It started way back in the day. The Fort Scott and Seminole teams used to enjoy wins. And early in my coaching career, I worked for so many great people. And as I was forming my kind of philosophy and stuff, I remember, you work really, really hard and you win a game. And these games are so hard to win. I mean, the toughest conference in the world is the conference you're in at that time. They're all hard. Games are so hard to win. And when you win them, I've always thought that you need to be able to, enjoy it a little bit. If not, why are we doing this? Then, studying coaches like a Coach Saban or Belichick, and you start hearing about the 24-hour rule. So we just made it a 12-hour rule in basketball since we play a couple games a week. If we win, we're going to celebrate for 12. If we come up a little short, we're going to bang ourselves up and figure it out. But then 12 hours later, you got to move on. So our post-game celebrations, it's something that, we believe in. And in today's world of social media, it's a little bit out of my comfort zone to figure it out. But I understand the fan base wants access to the program, so we try to do it in the best way we can. But it's real. I mean, we enjoy winning. Winning never gets old. We never take it for granted. And when we do win a game, we celebrate.
Any injuries from your standpoint? Anything or no? Or you?
Yeah, I've gotten banged up a few times over the years. I think a hamstring one time. And, Little Rock, when I had the broken hand, I forgot about it. I think I punched Roger Wood in the chest. That wasn't good. But, the thing that adds complication to it is some of the locker rooms around the country, the carpet, were fine. But when you get into like a concrete floor or a wood floor, we got to be careful because sometimes the young guys splash water and stuff. So it's like
call.
Even though it's like a mayhem, it's calculated.
Calculated mayhem. One more break to tell you today's show is brought to you by The Athletic. If you haven't heard about The Athletic by now, you must be living under a rock. These guys have been crushing it nationally, locally, whatever it is you're looking for, they have it. No pop-ups, no ads, high-quality content waiting behind every single click. Zach Harper, Frank Isola, Sam Amick, who was a guest on the show, Shams Charania, also a guest on the show, have you covered on everything NBA-related. Seth Davis, Dana O'Neal, Brian Hamilton, all killing it on the college basketball side. You can't get content like this anywhere else. 600 or 750 new articles every week. Who else is pushing quality content out like that? If you haven't signed up yet, take advantage of this deal because it's not going to last forever. Go to theathletic.com/Goodman. Get 40% off your monthly subscription. That's less than $3 a month. Just going to theathletic.com/Goodman. Shams, Amick, Harper, all for less than $3 a month. Dana O'Neal, Seth Davis, Brian Hamilton. Sign me up. Sign yourself up too. Athletic.com/Goodman. What was your paycheck back in the ABA? What's like the lowest you ever made at a job?
ABA was per game, and kind of depended on the owner at the time. We had a couple guys that really stepped up and did the best they could for us. And for a while, we were just kind of basically playing for the game. Whatever people came to the game, we kind of spread it out. But it was again, the basketball was sick, Jeff. Like the players we had, at one point we had like seven BCS starters on our team. I remember the early days. One of the coolest things I ever saw. I went recruiting one time, and this coach had like his first pay stub like framed on the wall. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So I always had this vision I would do that. I have one of my Fort Scott Community College pay stubs. I never framed or anything, but it's in one of my boxes somewhere. But I think the whole idea, don't forget where you came from, is real, and especially in coaching. We all know that, in July when we're sitting down in those gyms, some guys act a little bit different depending on what logo they have on their shirt. But I've always strived to be kind of the same guy that we've always been. Proud of my past.
Well, don't you still drive around like a 87 Jeep CJ7 or something like that?
83 CJ5.
83 CJ5. You still seriously drive it?
Yeah, the summers and springs. It's in the garage right now.
you make good money that you can upgrade that, right?
Well, yes, the deal. People associate that with low expense, but it's really on the other end. I think the older the Jeep, the more money you put into it.
Pour in. That's right. How many miles? How many miles on it?
Oh, it flipped a long time ago. It's got to be over 200,000. But it gets back to that salty piece of land Jimmy Buffett book. The whole idea of he had a boat and I've got a Jeep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. In your place, Augie told me your place in Lubbock. When you guys first got there, you lived together, and he told me the only things in the place, no TVs, beds, an old record player, and a picture of Waylon Jennings. Is that true?
Yeah, I got to tell you that Waylon Jennings story sometime, but yeah, for sure. So no TV, I always think that's a big key. Like sometimes coaches will call when they get jobs because we've had some success at different ones and be like, hey, give me some advice coming out the gate. And obviously people are going to talk about how you hire your staff or how you organize your first 48 hours or all these things that everybody knows. But one thing I always tell guys is, man, no TV. Try to go, your first 6 months without watching TV. Because to me, it's all about like eliminating distractions and putting the time where it needs to be. And, as much as I like TV, I'm actually like a girlfriend now, and I'm watching TV, and I haven't watched TV in forever, but I got a show right now. You ever seen The Ranch with Ashton Kutcher?
No. Is it good?
Yeah, that's my show right now. So after we win, like we won last night, obviously, till today, I'll watch a couple shows tonight, but that's the one I'm watching now, The Ranch. And then last year I watched Breaking Bad when I had my knee surgery.
Good. So good.
Yeah, Breaking Bad was crazy. But now my show is The Ranch.
I got a next one for you if you've ever watched it. It'll make you feel better about yourself. It's Shameless. You ever heard of it? Shameless?
Yeah, it's just like sick, isn't it?
Sick. Like so screwed up that again, you can't help but laugh, but it's like it's at a different level of just like dysfunction, which I don't mind. Like, again, you need that, right? Like at times you just need that to be able to smile and laugh and not think. And, you got to watch that one. You got to watch that. That's terrific. Do you watch Game of Thrones? Or
Check out The Ranch. No, I haven't. We had a Game of Thrones promo the other night at one of our home games. Our students loved it, but I have not watched it.
You should do that maybe after the season. I mean, that's when I do it too. Like during the season, I'm really watching minimal shows. I'll steal one here or there with my wife and daughter. But how's your daughter doing? How's Avery? Avery's at Columbia, freshman at Columbia, right?
Yeah, all three are great. Avery's kicking it hard in New York. She got a 4.0 first semester. She's doing great. Really loves being in the city. We got a chance to see her when we played Duke in the Garden in December. Ella made the varsity as a sophomore.
Nice.
On the basketball and soccer team. She's in the middle of soccer right now, which she loves. It's kind of her passion. And then Margot is actually hooping now, too. She won the city championship in her youth league. She's 11.
We got to get Avery to take you to a show in New York. Have you been to a Broadway show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We took the guys to Lion King.
Oh, that's right.
Before we played Duke. That was a good one. And then I saw, I guess it was 2 summers ago, I went to Hamilton, which was, great. I mean, that was like watching the NBA Finals or the Final Four and the talent.
Yep.
I'm obviously not an expert on that stuff, but you knew you were watching greatness.
Yeah, no, Hamilton, we've seen it a couple times. It's anybody who has not seen Hamilton that can get tickets, and it's expensive. That's the hard part. In New York, it's at a different level. You worked for Bob Knight for a while. I don't remember. How many years you worked for Coach Knight?
I need to look at that because I always answer, and I hope I'm being accurate, but I was at Tech for 10 years, and I think we did 8 with Coach and 2 with Pat. I'm not 100% sure, but I think 8 years.
What did you learn from him? What was the one thing that you took away from, and you probably took away a whole lot more than one, but what was the one main thing that you took away that you still utilize now from Coach Knight?
Yeah, I mean, so many things, but I think I've always kind of reflected and tried to go back through all the notes and memories, and when I'm around other people, we talk about it, but probably just the idea of preparation. I mean, before I got with Coach, I would have liked to think that our Fort Scott and Seminole teams were prepared, but just a whole other level with Coach Knight. His saying is so true, and I think it's one of the best things in sports. Like everybody wants to win. There's nobody in college basketball, coach, player, that doesn't want to win their next game, but what separates people is the people that want to prepare to win. And with Coach, there was just this sick, almost insane kind of competitive will and desire to prepare. And I tell coaches that come down and visit all the time, like we would film practice every day, and he would literally watch practice film all season long. So, like on the morning that we played Texas at home, he's watching yesterday's practice film. But the idea of preparation and everything I learned from Coach, and then really the same thing with Pat. I mean, every time I talk about Coach, my mind just immediately goes to Pat because I just learned so much from him. Great basketball mind. And still to this day, we do a lot of things that Pat taught us.
Jarrett Culver. What makes him so special? I mean, I don't know if you saw this completely coming this year with him taking that jump. And I thought it was so impressive what he did at the Garden against Duke, because I don't know if I expected him to have that where the bright lights didn't seem to affect him at all. In fact, he rose.
Yeah, I mean, so many things with Culver. I mean, obviously he's very, very talented, but it's the other things that make him special. He's literally got like an old school love of the game. I mean, when I think about myself, I was never, the player Culver was, obviously. But I do just, like, as I get older, have a lot of pride about how much I love the game. I mean, we would play outside till it got dark, and then we would go to Northwest Rec and play till 10. We would beg the lady to keep it open 15 more minutes. Then we would go back to the park and turn on our car lights and play some more. It's just like, it never got old. I mean, all I wanted to do when I was a kid was play ball. And Culver has that same pureness. I mean, he loves the game. Like, it's his life. You know, he's got a very strong family and faith, and then basketball is right there. It's like he just loves it. And he's one of those guys that we literally have to tell him to get out of the gym sometimes during the season. The other thing about Culver is just the idea of how he improves his game from week to week, month to month. And, you know, my whole career I've been like every other coach, and you tell your players, like, you know, look, Michael Jordan ended up being maybe the best shooter in the NBA in his prime, but when he came to the league, he was known as a driver, but he worked on it. And the stories about, you know, the great players, I think it was Jordan sought out, or Kobe, I think, sought out Hakeem Olajuwon one summer, learned some footwork, and then the next year, Kobe has this back-to-the-basket game. It's like the idea of improving. And Culver does this. Last year, he was a scorer. He was a talented guy, but he wasn't a great passer. But he studied the pick and roll, and he studied passing. He worked on his game. And now, I mean, he's a guy that can literally, you know, win the game shooting, passing. But he's a guy that can constantly improves and works on his game. And he's already been in the film room this morning watching the clips from yesterday. He'll come back in this afternoon and start watching Iowa State. And, but that's where I think about him as the NBA. I think he'll be an all-star one day. Why? Because he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. Like, he's never going to stop improving.
Who do you compare him to? Is there somebody that, you know, in the NBA or that you like the comparison to that maybe an NBA guy's given you?
Yeah, we watch a lot of clips with him. We go old school. We watch Jordan and Kobe and those guys with him because I think he's really good when he's in the triple threat. And then we watch, you know, people that read the pick and roll, like a Chris Paul and stuff. But he's just kind of a combination of everybody. His favorite NBA player is Crawford.
Yep.
The guys give him a hard time because, like, in our locker room, it's like LeBron or Kobe. And
he's
been
Crawford.
true. The very first time I called him, it's kind of a common question you ask recruits on the first time you call them. You kind of get to know people. Hey, who's your favorite team? Who's your favorite player? And the very first time I asked him that, he said Jamal Crawford, and he stays true to today. But he's got some Crawford in his game.
So you got a great recruiting story. I know this is kind of hitting you on the spot. Give me your, like, favorite funny, crazy, entertaining recruiting story from anywhere.
Yeah, we got a lot of good ones. I'll tell you one on Culver. So Jarrett's obviously here in town in Lubbock, and we had gotten to know him and met him a few times, but now comes the time where we're going to do the home visit. And I told Culver earlier on, I was like, I want you to come to Texas Tech if you feel like this is the best place for your future, not because we're in your hometown. That's just kind of icing on the cake, but that is not why you should make the decision. You should come here if you think this is the best place for you. So with that in mind, even though he was local and we saw him from time to time and he could come up to the office on unofficials, we still wanted to stay true to the process and do everything that everybody else was doing. So when it was our time to do the home visit, we wanted to see if there's something special we could do. So we asked compliance, and they checked with the NCAA and all. But what we did is we took our Texas Tech bus to the house. So the big Texas Tech charter took me and Al and Augie over there to the Culver's house, and we went through the neighborhood. People were coming out of the houses, so that was pretty cool. Well, we have a moment there at the end of the Culver's driveway with Mr. and Mrs. Culver and JJ and Trey and Jarrett, and Grandma was there. We talked for a little bit. Then it was time to come in, so Mr. Culver said, well, come on in. Welcome to our house. Well, the bus driver, who I did not know at the time, but I know now really well, he's a great guy, he actually came in with us. And the Culvers, I think, thought that he was one of the coaches. So we're sitting there on the couches and stuff, and we got the bus driver, and so everything everything's kind of cool. But so we go through the line, and Grandma had made chicken spaghetti, and it was really good, man. Me and Al Pinkins were sitting right next to each other on this couch, and we were killing it. And I noticed at the end there was a little bit left, so it was basically kind of a race to see who gets to seconds. So even though I'm trying to be on my best behavior, recruiting, talking, making eye contact, me and Al and Augie are just slamming the spaghetti, trying to get to the seconds. But the bus driver, Tom, beats us to it. He gets up, he goes over there and takes the last helping of the spaghetti. So me and Culver still talk about that till today, but he's ended up being a great friend.
That's awesome. All right, so we can't go through the podcast without mentioning your guy, your favorite player. I think he's your favorite player, maybe not. We don't want to admit it. Thomas Brandsma, who followed you from like Angelo to McMurray to Little Rock, right? He went all three with you.
Yeah, Brandsma update. So he's actually working for a Lubbock company, doing really well in the business world. They send him out from time to time where he goes away and then comes back. But I'll tell you my last Brandsma story. So this year we started selling beer at the basketball games. I think everyone around the country is heading that way if they aren't already there. Yeah. So it's been good for our fan base and things like this. But we control about, 10 or 15 tickets right behind the bench. So like when former players come in or special guests or what have you. So Brandsma's been just blowing up the phone trying to get the courtside seat. So he finally got them the other day. So even though, sometimes in the heat of the game, things are crazy. I mean, from time to time, I kind of look around and see things, it's not like I'm trying to solve physics here or something, but I look back behind the bench and here's Brandsma, and he's got about 4 empty Miller Lite cans right underneath him. So
shocking.
After the game, I'm like, hey, Brandsma, no problem with the seats, man, but you're getting a little TV time there. Can you please clean it up a little bit? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Coach. Sorry.
That's classic. So, he gave me a story of you. He said back when you were in the Angelo State days, you guys were playing West Texas A&M on the road, and the student section was going crazy, and they cut out from Allen from The Hangover, right?
Yeah, still got it.
I heard you got it. How the hell did you get it? Did you go over and ask for it, and they gave it to you?
Yeah, I'll send you a picture of it today. It's a huge cardboard, life-size thing of Allen, when he's got the shirt on and just I think the tiger underwear or something. So we got a big game there. We're trying to win the conference championship. We're at West Texas and Canyon, and I go out there a little bit early in D2, make sure there's not a fight during warm-ups or something. But there's about 5 minutes before the game, and the student section is already just heckling me, man. I mean, they are on me hard. Then I turn around, and they've got this big Allen, and they're just shaking it. So I thought it was the coolest thing I ever saw because Hangover is one of my favorite movies. So I waved the kid down, It's probably about 3.5 minutes before the game. The other team's coach, Tom, wasn't out there yet. So the kid kind of comes down. He looks a little scared and stuff. And I was like, hey, man, I want to buy that from you. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm telling you, man, I'll give you $100 for that. But I don't have any money on me right now. But win or lose, no matter what happens in this game, I promise, man, meet me in that hallway and I'll give you $100. So it was the ultimate Jedi mind trick. The kid was so appreciative. The rest of the games, they weren't even rooting against us. It was the best trick ever.
So did
I
you?
go to the locker room. Yeah. So I go to the locker room at the game, and we normally had some cash on us because post game bills, McDonald's, Browns, whatever. So I'll never forget. I didn't quite have 100. I had $78 or something. So I go out there, and the kid's sitting there. He's all excited. And I told him, I said, hey, man, I'm a man of my word. I promise, but this is all I have. Are you a freshman? He's like, yeah, I'm a freshman. I was like, I promise next year I'll bring you your $12. But of course he was really, no problem. 78's good. So I go back in the locker room. I'm like, hey guys, we got the win tonight and we got Allen. So Allen is still in our office today. We got him, and then we got the Dos Equis, world's most interesting man. Those two guys are in the office.
So you screwed the kid out of $22 or something though.
Yeah, but I told him I'd pay him the next year, and he said he was fine with it. So if he's out there listening, swing by the basketball office at Texas Tech, and I'll give him $20-something.
Whatever it is. Well, interest. It might be 30-something by now.
Yeah, no doubt. I think I can handle it.
I do too. Well, listen, I appreciate you joining us after the win against Texas, prior to probably the biggest game of the season here. Hilton, Iowa State, not an easy team to play. If I get out to Texas Tech, which I plan to do next year to Lubbock, I'm going to get out there. Can I get on one of those fireside chats with you?
Yes, we'll have a special edition. We'll tell the Little Rock story where you promised me you'd come to the tournament. The viewers will like that one.
And I did. Right?
Man, your word.
I was there. You beat Purdue. You came running over to me. You came sprinting over right after you beat Purdue, after you kind of shocked the world there because, again, nobody thought you'd do it. Listen, really appreciate you coming on. Have fun with Hilton and that crowd because, man, that crowd is about as good as any in the country. Vastly underrated.
Yeah, we got so much respect for them. It's a great place to play. Great basketball fans.
Hello, I'm Dan Lothian, host of the Behind the Media podcast on the CLNS Media Network. Along with Jimmy Young, we dive into the biggest media headlines each week with honest, informed, and sometimes irreverent perspectives. It's not all serious. We deliver information and entertainment. As we like to say on Behind the Media, we find the interesting in media so you don't have to go searching for it. Listen to our podcast and get prepped for the next trip to the water cooler. Subscribe to Behind the Media wherever you get your podcast or find us on www.clnsmedia.com.